Kakalosh Boker Tov. We're just continuing with the halachot of the Pirkei Avot here in Perek Vav. In this past chapter that we just learned, Mishnah Gimel, we're talking about that the person has to come and they have to respect somebody that even taught them the Aleph Bet. So in the Sefer Yom Hataval Rabbanan, he comes and brings down the poskim that they hold that a siyum of a perek is also considered a siyum, and therefore you could do a seudat mitzvah because it's considered that you were misayem on enough in the Torah. However, though, he brings down from the Divrei Ramah that it's mashma that they used to have a siyum only after a seder shalem and not only after one perek. But then he writes down that Lakol Panim, right? He says bekatan yesh lomar shavi siyum. To do with a child, you can do a siyum even after one perek, because since his simcha is so great, right? And just like we see by the Mishnayot, he says, Mishatenu, godel ha'inyan, the greatness of even one letter or perek in the Torah, that if you're going to come and teach your friend, you would have to actually call him your rabbi. So therefore, for a child, you would be able to. However, though the majority of the poskim don't hold that, and they say that even on the Masechet of Mishnayot, right, there's a machloket, can you make a siyum or not make a siyum, which means that it's not that simple to start making siyumim on a perek of Mishnayot or a kal vachomer. Why? Because some people say you can't even do a siyum on a Mishnayot, on a full Mishnah, because it's only Mishnah, not a Gemara. So imagine what it is, only doing it on a perek. In the Sefer Yom Hataval Rabbanan, he brings down a maaseh b'talmid yeshiva b'tiferet Yerushalayim that his father was very, very distant from Shmirat Torah Mitzvot, and afterwards he karev aviv the Torah and he wanted to learn Gemara. So his son started teaching him the otiyot of the Aleph Bet and Lashon HaKodesh, and then afterwards he started teaching Mishnah. He taught him one daf of Gemara. The father was so happy that he wanted to do a siyum. So they asked Rav Moshe Feinstein what to do, and Rav Moshe Feinstein said it's nachon lasot siyum. But since it came with such an amal and higiyah gdola, and he himself actually came to the siyum. So imagine Rav Moshe Feinstein actually came to a siyum of one daf of Gemara, and the next morning the person actually passed away. So Rav Moshe Feinstein came to the levaya, and he said that, do you know that it's brought down in the Gemara that some people yesh koneh olamo b'sha'ah achat. He says some people, they acquire their world in 1 hour. He says yesh koneh olamo b'daf echad. Some people, they acquire their olam haba with one daf. That means this person, since he put so much, because he was so distant from Torah mitzvot, and then afterwards he came closer to Hashem, and he put so much of the emphasis in what it is, that he knew the entire daf of Gemara, right? He knew it so well that he actually made a siyum on one daf. That was just so important. So obviously a lot of it has to do with how important it is. So for a little child, obviously if it's going to be so important, and that's what we mentioned before, so then it could be that even on one perek they might actually do it. However, though, a person has to be careful, because again, usually a siyum means that they finish something complete, and that usually finishing something complete will be whether it's going to be a mesechet, right? It's going to be a full Gemara or other things like that. That a person just should understand how important it is of closing or finishing something.